Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and the other Autobot of the first wave of 2012's Transformers Generations line was none other than the Autobot Jazz, the Cybertron fallen break-dancing hip-hop robot who technically shouldn't know what that is yet at this point in his career. What a sleek-looking future car! I love the lines and sculpted details, even if they aren't all picked out with paint. The metallic blue and gunmetal ink that does show up looks tasty, though. From the rear, a lot of that goodwill gets tested by the huge hole in the back. While not as terrible as some of the stuff hanging out of a lot of jet transformers, the exposed hands and feet feel like they were supposed to have a flap closed down over top of them. You can plug Jazz's gun into a few different ports on his vehicle mode. The tightest looking but silliest looking spot is right bang in the middle of the roof. Pew, pew, vroom. Jazz transforms in a decently involved fashion, primarily bolstered by his multi-layered arms and torso movements. What makes it work is the number of locking points. There are very solid clips that take the trick his shoulders use to transform and fix the very common problem in previous iterations of that particular fold, the wheels coming around onto the chest. His major weakness is in how his torso, despite coming together very solidly, feels as though it's supposed to do something more. It took me a few runs through the conversion to get used to what its final locked position is supposed to look like, mostly due to all of the open spaces therein. And what open spaces they are! At first glance, Jazz's torso looks like a mess of inner framework, with almost no plating to seal it up. His proportions are actually pretty decent, just thrown off by his high shoulders and large pectoral hood chest. It's just things like the floating platform his neck is attached to that take a lot of getting used to. But I did get used to it, very much thanks to how solidly it all locks together in spite of its appearance. And with that out of the way, I think he did turn out well from a variety of angles. It very much helps that he has a clearly defined backbone, formed from the multi-hinged rear of the car mode. Once you're able to visually attach his skeleton together at the waist, his legs also stop looking so thin and more like they're simply less armored than his upper body. Something I couldn't get used to, though, was his botched light piping. The plastic used for his visor is clear, but way too dark for anything but a direct flashlight application to show through. It's a shame, as I otherwise dig his head sculpt, and I would have loved for that visor to just light up like Christmas. Blue Christmas. He can also totally hold his little pistol. It's not a game changer, but it does suit his body style rather well. Small enough to pack some heat while he grapples around like Cybertronian Spider-Man. This figure doesn't actually have a grappling hook, does it? Can this Cyber Cat get his Cyber Groove, Cyber on, Cyber kinda? His head is on a ball joint that's got just enough wiggle to really be able to get all like, scat man, scat. He's on ball joints everywhere. He's on lots of ball joints. He's doing that ball joint thing all the kids are into. But specifically, he's got ball joints in his shoulders, which are attached to the blue part. That's the weird thing about this guy's shoulders. There's a hinge here, so you kind of get this, like, you get your ball jointed motion, then you get this additional outward motion. It's a really weird setup. I don't really get it. There's a bicep swivel, and then these really weird, like, fake ratchet joints on his elbows. And I don't know exactly how they're technically ratchets, I guess, but it's like a two-piece ratchet, which makes me wonder if it's really just going to grind itself down very fast over time. Granted, I've had this guy for a while, and his ratchet joints are fine, so maybe they're fine. I don't even know why, not just me, but everyone tends to look at these as like, yeah, those fake ratchets, and I'm like, it's not really fake, it's just not the constructed ratchet joint I think we're all used to that involves usually like a spring and like a separate piece of plastic that's the tooth against the gear. This just feels like there's a tooth sculpted inside this blue part that's just grinding against the white gear here. I don't know, I haven't really looked inside. His wrists are on ball joints, which means that they swivel, and then kind of unfortunately just can bend inwards, which looks rather fey and unbecoming of Jazz. He's like, my darling, I'm feeling a woozy. I went down the street the other day, and another gentleman had a flower on his lapel that looked rather exactly like mine. Oh, frankly, my dear, So I don't care that much for that wrist joint, except to be silly and irritating like I was just then. He has no waist joint, unfortunately, and I don't see how there wasn't room for one somewhere down here. This thing tabs into his butt, but there's room under his butt. There could have been a sub-butt waist joint. and there isn't. What a bummer. He's got ball-jointed hips with a separate thigh swivel. He's got the ratcheted knee joint as well as the disc connection, so he has like a lower thigh swivel to go with his upper thigh swivel, and his feet, from the transformation, are able to really just grind it. Like, this is the most solid ratchety joint on this guy. It's very clicky, and unfortunately it stops there, and I kind of wish it could go farther so you could have his feet pointing, this way, like he's in mid-stride. As it is, it's mostly there for having them this way, which is fine, but man, both directions would have been fantastic. So his posability is alright. It's not really like brick-like. I just find his shoulders a bit odd. Also, the ball joints on my shoulders got really loose, so I had to get some floor polish in there. And as for the plastic quality discussion for this one, again, the plastic feels fine. The actual polymer feels fine, but much like Optimus Prime, he's got a lot of hollowness all over the place, where it's like, look how lovely that sculpted leg is. Oh, that's because there's stuff missing from that side. Really, the big stickler on this one, aside from the hollow bits on the insides of the limbs, it's if you look at them from the top down, that doesn't look super good, but from here, it looks much better. So, again, as far as the plastic goes, I think the plastic is fine. Like, we can get all Tetrajet, and I can just start doing that. And, the plastic's okay. It's really the construction again. I think that's gonna be the case for a lot of these Fall of Cybertron guys. They're made from a fine enough plastic. They are just constructed in a much less substantial way than what folks were used to from the late 2000s and early 2010s. As though we're not still in the early 2010s. Anyway, I came into this first wave of 2012 Generations expecting the least out of Jazz, and he ended up being my favorite figure of the initial three. He's a bit rickety visually, but it's his solid and locked-together robot mode that drew me in. Enjoying the visuals of his car mode and having fun transforming him sealed the deal. He doesn't have the feeling of over-shrinkage that burden Optimus, and is more solid in construction and physical form than Shockwave. His greatest fault is the visually unappealing construction of his torso, and it doesn't help that his coloration resulted in so much bare white plastic. I'm glad that at least the quandary of color placement can be solved through repro labels or higher paint budget imports. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and the idea of remolding this guy into Sideswipe seemed like a great choice at first glance. At second glance? Well, we'll find out, won't we?